I remember that weekend, whole calendar, great calls. Oh yeah, this sounds great, Ephraim. Let me get back to you 2 days. Called him back, nothing. Oh, I forgot who's this? What did we talk about? And I was like, oh no, fuck that. I'm gonna try this SNL shit. And then it worked. Fucking worked. Boom, close two people. Because literally, like the calls I have now, just 9 day difference. And I've been through a lot of such training. I know NPQ, seen a little bit of NLP and stuff, but all that stuff's not really needed. You have,
Yo, Ephraim, my guy, appreciate you hopping on.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I want to go through some questions with you just to kind of give everyone an understanding of, your time working with us.
Yeah, so we basically the offer I'm on currently is coaching for loan brokers. So easiest way to understand it is similar to what a mortgage broker does for helping people find the funding that they need for their homes. And so we're training people to help them find the funding that business owners need to grow their companies. So same exact application. Instead of for homes, it's for businesses.
Obviously you've been with us now a few months, working kind of one to one. And where were you before? Because I know you've recently just had, I guess,
Yeah.
your best month.
Yep, yep, yep.
And what was that month? What were you able to make?
So it was 13K that month, not including the base. So that's just comms. I do have base
That's
as
so
well.
sick.
A little bit more than that, but just comms 13K.
And what do you think the biggest difference is, compared to like 3 months ago? So what was that situation like 3 months ago, and then what have you done? The biggest things that you
Actually,
think?
man, there's a ton of changes that I made. Even just having better frame itself. Like there's a lot of stuff that slips that you don't notice. And that is why it's important to have someone that's way more experienced looking over your shoulders. Hey, this is what you need to be doing. This call sounds like you're just trying to convince this person. I remember the first call you reviewed. I was just super scattered. I was still like chasing the yes. I'd avoid the elephants and try to sweep them under the rugs, and then they come back and bite me. I'd say biggest differences, a lot more structure. That's the first thing. The second thing, I wasn't even framing my calls. I would just get on there. How you doing? Give me some background, and then why are you asking me questions? What's going on? And so having that first frame, having a yes or no, having a structure, and then also just the overall like elephants. Like I bring them up on my terms. Like I'm not scared about, hey, this is our price, or hey, this is the time that's needed, or hey, is this all done for you, or is it done with you? I just go after those elephants, get them over with, and if it's really not meant to be, that's gonna be the thing is you can't convince somebody to buy. Like you just it's kind of like dating. The more you push, the more they repel. And so like I feel like it's just night and day difference on my calls, like in terms of frame, structure, clear yes or no. I know that I can close people on a daily basis. Before I have a calendar, I'm like, oh man, I hope somebody closes today. Kind of like hoping because I have no structure, no frame, no control. And that shit drives you crazy. Like I remember I get off calls and I just be anxiety because I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And so now like just with the frame structure, going after the elephants, like I know consistently I'm going to be closing people.
Bro, I bet you everyone's listening thinking, what are these elephants, bro? Who are these
Yes.
elephants? But
The elephants that most people avoid. So the firstly the money, the biggest one. Secondly, the time that's needed since this is not like our program is done with you. So you need to set aside 10, 15 hours a week. For some people, some CEOs, some business owners, they're not willing to do that. And so you need to talk about it early on. Like sometimes they can allocate an employee to do it for them, but they need to know about that early onset. That way, once that door is closed, that's not something that they're gonna use to just lie to you at the end of the call. And then you find that when you talk about this stuff early on, like I remember yesterday I talked about time and money that was needed. After this person closed, they were thanking me because it was like, oh, I appreciate you being open, transparent. And so those are a lot of the big things that you need whenever you're actually talking to someone. Just being very straightforward, very open, instead of trying to brush a lot of those things under the rug.
no, you're right, bro. It's amazing the difference between your kind of first call and the ones now where all of these like elephants in the room, all of these reasons why it might not be a good fit for people, why they might be wasting your time, and you just attack the call with those things up front. And it's
Exactly.
funny the amount of, you gain authority and respect by just being upfront like that. One more thing I want to add is like when I review calls for a lot of people, they were like your first call, where everything is like there's lots of things in there that are good, but they're just completely kind of scattered. And it's actually what you've done and added is really simple. It's just that exact structure that we're going to follow and go through. This is the intro where I need to understand you. Now we're going to give you the setting of the expectations for the call. I'm going to tell you I'm looking for a decision, and then I'm going to go through the reasons why it isn't a good fit.
Okay.
How simple is that?
And it's like it's like when you give them the ability to leave the call, they pull in. If they don't pull in, then they really just, okay, this person, maybe they're just looking for information, maybe a little bit curious. But you find that for those that are serious, they'll sell themselves back. They're like, oh, no, time's not a problem. Oh, money, that's not a problem for me either. That's a manageable number, etc. And so then at that point, you can just literally talk to them. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how it works. It doesn't feel salesy. Doesn't feel like you're trying to convince them. That's how it was before for me. Like I'd be trying to sweep them through the call. Oh yeah, don't worry about the time. We can figure it out. Blah blah blah. And I think another thing as well is I look pretty young. The people I talk to are older people, whether they're CEOs, whether they're retirees, whether they're mortgage brokers for the last 30 years. They respect it a lot more because they're like, okay, it's not just a kid trying to sell me something. This dude is talking to me like a person and just having a conversation. If it makes sense, what we normally do is help you get going. If not, we're still going to part on good terms. It's not a big deal. And I think it helps with your frame where you're not afraid to talk about these things where you get the cocky people every now and then, but like with your frame, like you can deal with it a lot better because you're not really trying to sell them. Like obviously the goal is still to sell them. You're not scared of those tough conversations. And so that's biggest 90-day difference for sure.
It's a really good point, by the way. Lots of B2C or like biz ops, where someone like yourself looks young and you get savvy business people, retirees coming to a call. They already, from just what they see, they're like, oh, fuck this guy. Like, I don't want to be sold to by this. So if you prove them wrong very quickly by having authority, gaining respect, talking about the harder things straight away, suddenly you're in a different situation, right? And I know that's exactly what you've been able to apply. But yeah, is there anything else? Like, people are going to watch this and be thinking about joining Frozen Paid and possibly working with us one to one. Is there anything kind of you'd say to them?
Because literally, like the calls I have now, just 9-day different. And so, even if you've been through training, because I've been through a lot of different training, like most people have, you feel that, oh, like I can just work harder but I remember when I joined, you guys know what I was talking about, where I'd be chasing follow-ups, 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 follow-ups. And you've seen my calendar too. Like I have like 12, 13 calls. That will drive you insane. And so I remember when I started, I was scared to be like, hey, I'm just yes or no. But it's really the way you deliver it as well. Like it's not sales. It's just, hey, and they love it. Like when you say, hey, just respect for your time and ours as well. Just know this isn't for me. Or, hey, this makes sense. I mean, let's get going. Very straightforward, very direct. And savvy people love it. They don't want to be on 8 calls you trying to convince them to join your program or buy your service. If possible, if it makes sense and you're competent, they'll sign up on the first call. They're usually the easiest people to close because money's not going to be a problem for them. For the people I close savvier people easier when you use yes or no because it
Of
just, hey, this
course.
is it.
That's just how it works. People don't
Yeah,
realize savvy people just want you to be like that. And when you do, it's easier to close them. But
exactly.
I think what you're saying, if correct me if I'm wrong, you've done lots of different trainings, and I
Yep.
think that's a good thing to see what's out in the market. What you're doing with us or what you've been able to apply feels more authentic to yourself. It feels kind of natural to you. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just natural. Like in regular conversation, you're just talking to somebody, right? So the way I see it now, like it's 2 adults just having a conversation. We're obviously working towards understanding if this would make sense. Part of that is honestly just bringing up all the things of why this wouldn't make sense first. Once you get that out the way, you can generally just speak to that person. You don't even have to try and sell them. Because once you've gotten all the potential elephants out the room, they've already sold themselves to you. No, that's not a problem. No, that doesn't scare me off. No, I'm cool with that. And then from there, you just have genuine conversation. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how it works. They don't like give you more bullshit at the end of the call as well. Like a lot of people, at the end you have that bullshit like, oh, let me go talk to blah 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 blah. It still happens every now and then, and that's the room for improvement that I see myself as well. But overall, like when you have a more authentic conversation, they'll be real with you as well. They're just reciprocating your energy.
That's a big one, bro. That's a big one.
Yep.
You get less objections from being authentic to yourself, being honest, talking about the hard things. You get
Exactly.
less of the push at the end, but you're right. still comes into play. Some people still can't help
Yeah.
themselves. But you, if you're the rest of your calls, if you're able to apply all that stuff, when people do it, you're just like, cool, don't even matter. Like, got another call in a minute. Let's
Exactly.
have this one.
Yeah. The other thing as well is when you talk about the stuff up front, you can bring it back. Well, hey, not a problem. I guess you mentioned earlier that that wasn't going to be a problem for you. So I guess what am I missing here? And you can just call them out. And then when you have that, because I remember you've seen some calls where I try to like isolate. Oh, why do you feel like it would? The whole isolation thing. And it feels kind of desperate sometimes. Like when you're like, because once you ask for the buyer, they say no, you're basically chasing. And so I'd rather just, hey, not a problem. I guess I'm curious because we talked about this before. You mentioned wasn't going to be a problem for you. What changed? Or you just have a genuine conversation. You're just talking to them still. And so I prefer to do that than oh no 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 no. I mean, do you feel like it will, or NFQ type thing. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest difference when you really
Bro,
talk to up front. You can just pull from it. Hey, this is what you said before. What's different? And it really gets them to reevaluate. They can't fight against themselves, right? This
and
is what you said.
and it kind of crazy, bro, how I remember you used to do this, like when someone you'd say, "Do you so that's it, like do you feel that's for you?" And they say, "Yeah, yeah, it looks good." And like,
Yeah.
so how do you feel it's good for you? Why do you feel like that? And it's like, bro, are you trying to make them go the other way? You're trying to make them fucking not go forward? But you are right in the sense that if you're able to talk honestly at the start of the call, bring these things up, and then their tune changes a bit later on, you can just be honest and say, John, you choose however you are comfortable, but I am slightly confused because just earlier on you said
Exactly.
that time allocation was absolutely fine, and now it seems it's not. What changed, right? And you can just talk about it. But
And
yeah,
it's
bro,
real, it's authentic. It's not just you. And like I said, the biggest thing is using their words. You're not using your words. It's not about you because that's normally how they go about it, where you're chasing, like, hey, no, no, no. Like, do you still feel like what we do will help you? Blah, blah. Why do you feel like it will? Everyone thinks it's always fear. Sometimes it is, I guess, maybe B2C, it might be. But for more savvy people, it's just either value or you miss something. Or you just bring it up and they'll come back around. Like they're very straightforward and direct as well. And so I've had people close where on the first time, like, hey, let's get going. No. But you said this, okay, and then we actually close. Same call. And it's also part of the yes or no as well that ties in. When they realize there's a decision to be made, it's not weird or it's not like you're being aggressive or pushy. You just say, hey, but I remember we agreed earlier. Sometimes I bring that up and it does help them close. When appropriate, you can remind them slightly, softly, empathetically, and then just guide them and have that conversation. If they close, they do. If they don't, sometimes they close the next call. But it's much more authentic, not chasing, not desperation.
and not
Yeah,
relying on follow-ups, bro.
yeah,
Follow,
yeah.
follow.
Like ton of follow-ups, man. I remember those days, man.
And
Chasing people,
uh,
chasing people, chasing people. So yeah,
people will relate, bro, because your calendar is fucking so packed.
I
It's
know
mental. And if you have to rely on following up with people, it ain't gonna work. So
exactly.
changing your outlook and is in closing as many people on the calls, not forgetting about follow-up, but not spending so much time doing it is obviously going to be a better
Exactly.
thing to do.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
the best time to close them is when they're on the call. Like when they get off the call, no matter what, it always your chances dramatically drop, and that's just because multiple things could happen. Variables talk themselves out of it. Car breaks down. Life gets in the way. Just myriad of things. And so, best time is when you have their full attention. They're on the call. They remember what you're talking about. You're in the moment. Emotions there. Maybe it's not. Whatever. But they're in the moment with you on the call. When they get off the call, life happens. Maybe they forget. Like I've had follow-ups where I call them back. This is from before, and like, who is this? What did we talk about? And you're like, it's fucking mad because like at that point you just wasted 30 minutes, and this is why like, hey, yes or no, based on information, this is gonna be the most informed that you'll be anyway. I could send you a bunch of different resources, blah blah blah, but it's not gonna help you. This really just does this align with me, and to really guide someone to that decision, it only makes sense if you push for the stuff that doesn't make sense first. That's part of yes or no. It's not just yes or no, and then you convincing them. It's like yes or no. These are all the reasons why this wouldn't work for you. Does any of that concern you, or is any of that something we need to talk about? And so by having all of that out the way, you have that authentic conversation, and then that makes sense to naturally push them towards that yes. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of like flipping because most people, most prospects have been on calls before as well. And so they're used to being chased. They're used to being subservient. Oh, thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for having this call with me. And so when they see the whole flip, like, no, I'm sturdy. I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. This is what I do every day. Gonna ask you some questions to understand what's gonna make the most sense for you just based out of everything that we do. And from there, if it makes sense, just looking for a simple no, this is not gonna be for me, or yeah, let's get going. Very simple, very soft, very direct. It's not salesy. And older people appreciate that shit. I don't think I've ever maybe like one person, but if they object to it, 1 out of 100 people, that person was just never gonna buy. They're really just on the call for information to waste your time. And so if they really, I want to get them off the call. I've never had a savvy person object to it.
We're going to clip that little bit up, what you just said, that little clip about no one ever rejected it except
It's
the
true.
person
It's,
who's
you
going
remember, I was so
to
scared to do it. I would just get on
Bro,
the call,
you were a
dance around.
pussy. You were a pussy to begin with. You were like, I'm not sure about this, guys.
You know what was funny? Like it was like I remember the weekend that I implemented it. I had like a full calendar. I didn't close anybody that day. I had great calls. Oh yeah, let me go away, think about it. The next day I was like, okay, fuck that. I'm gonna just try this shit. Richard's been telling me to say yes or no. I've been scared. And so the next day, boom, close 2 people. And it was just like instantly I saw the difference because I was like, oh shit, this dude's serious. Yes or no. At the end, maybe they waffle a bit, but they remember what you said. And so and sometimes I'll push for the no early. Like, hey, if you want to tell me no here, I get it. No, 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 no. Like this is what I want to do, and then just reverse psychology and then talking themselves back into it. That was actually what Trey's funny because I remember that weekend, whole calendar, great calls. Oh yeah, this sounds great, Ephraim. Let me get back to 2 days. Called him back, nothing. Oh, I forgot who's this. What did we talk about? And I was like, oh no, fuck that. I'm gonna try this yes no shit. And then it worked. It fucking worked. And so that's why like you want to lean on people that have way more experience. They're already been there, done that. So you're not just doing trial and error like I was doing. I've been through a lot of such training. I know NPQ, seen a little bit of NLP and stuff, but all that stuff's not really needed. When you have a direct conversation, talk about the things that are important, address the elephants in the room, you'll get to where you need to be anyway. You don't need like a lot of the other stuff that, people always think you need for your calls. Just keep it simple.
Spot
And
on,
that's
bro.
one of the things as well. Like I remember I had a lot of fluff. Fluff is on my type of process. So just cutting all that down because people also have a tolerance for your questioning. When you're asking them a million questions that lead nowhere, eventually, dude, we're going nowhere. Can we get to the point? And so, yeah, these are a lot of the things that I feel like I've just flipped night and day just from working with Richard and the team and Brian and really just learning and having the feedback, always trying to improve and optimize and not having an ego about, oh, like the yes or no or the frame or the call or the questioning or the fluff or addressing the elephants. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I've changed. And I think also just overall, it's on my identity. Like, I'm not scared of hard conversations. If we need to have this conversation, it means we part as friends. It's okay. Have other calls and you're not desperate.
We part as friends and then we don't speak again.
Yeah, part as friends. We don't speak again. You go on, you do your thing. This is, and the way I see it as well is just like, I feel like it's also helped me realize, hey, this is their problem at the end of the day. It's not my problem. I get off. I'm good. I'll go do what I need to do.
Bro,
Columbia.
it's so true. Like, you speak to so many people, you can't help everyone. And if you
Yeah,
just accept that, you can't help everyone, then
yeah.
if people don't close and they have their own problems, they don't want to sort it, then cool. See you later. I'm speaking to someone else. But anyway, I want to just say, bro, I know you've got a call. You mentioned
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I appreciate you chatting, saying all that stuff with us. So peace out.